Good morning and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn series for school counselors and career development coordinators related to CT curriculum program areas. Today we have Dr. Nolan Fahrer, our program consultant, one of our program consultants for trade, technology, engineering, and industrial education curriculum. It's going to focus on construction trades, drafting, and woodworking pathways. And I will be watching the chat and may interrupt if there are any questions, Nolan, and I'll also be putting any links that Nolan references in the chat as well. Without further ado, Dr. Fahrer, pass it over to you.
Sure. Thank you much, Amy. I appreciate everything you're doing here. Welcome, everybody. Again, my name is Nolan Fahrer. I am the program area consultant for the construction trades courses, drafting, woodworking, and I'll expand on that in a minute here. I actually have 9 different pathways and about 27 or 28 courses. So I oversee quite a bit of courses anyway. I want to leave this up here for a moment because just right now we're used to seeing trade, technology, engineering, and industrial education, that long acronym there. And starting this summer, we're actually moving back to our trade and industrial education program area title due to some other changes that we have going on in our CTE kind of infrastructure. So you'll start to see T&I again instead of TTEI, which people normally know what T&I is first. So let me go through here. Here is the attendance check-in. I know Amy will probably put this in the chat as well. Amy, would you like me to keep this up here a little longer?
If I've put the link in the chat 3 times, sometimes people use that little QR code, and I think by now it's a good time to go ahead and move forward.
Perfect. Here's a housekeeping slide, just some things that we want to put up there for you. We're going to go over, of course, particular curriculum program areas. This session has, looks like 0.1 CEUs. This is recorded, and I think the presentations will also be available upon the completion of this. And there is a 2-part live attendance for the CEU. There's a check-in at the beginning, and, which she put in the chat, and there's a checkout code at the end as well. So without further ado, let me continue here. First up, I just wanted to put up there, this is the slide. It shows our TTEI Moodle page that Jim, David, and myself, there's 3 TTEI consultants. And I didn't put all the courses because it's really long. I'll show you mine. But I have construction, drafting, woodworking, and some middle grade pathways. Jim has auto, collision, metals, and David has advanced manufacturing, drones, and public safety, law and justice, and firefighting, and EMT. So there's a lot of pathways that we do cover. Of those, my program areas are construction, which is there's 5 different areas: masonry, carpentry, electrical trades, solar, which is a new one, which is really an extension of the electrical trades. So we're getting into these alternative energy pathways in North Carolina because there's a push for alternative energies, of course. HVAC, which is a big one that we want to push to grow. It's a really great courses and careers to go into because it's not, I don't know, the way to portray this, I guess, is that these are sophisticated people coming out to fix these complicated systems that require a lot of proficiency and expertise. And plumbing is another area that sounds, I think, almost a little archaic, but these folks are going out, and I'll get into this later on more, but going out and not only dealing with your general plumbing, but they're dealing with some more complex issues when it comes to different areas of plumbing, but um, just the different systems that are in these buildings. For sprinkler systems, people don't often think of plumbing and like sprinkler systems and fire safety and things like that, but that's some of the other careers. So I just want to bring your attention to that. Construction trades have come a long way and branched into other areas as well. I oversee the drafting courses, which are 2 pathways, actually, architecture and engineering. We do some new exploring kind of career type of courses in the construction that are becoming more hands-on as well. It's great to explore, help build the high school programs, but also to bring career awareness to your middle school students, and then woodworking as well. So ideas for partnerships. is to really promote and advertise the trades positively. I'm not saying this is not being done at all, but it's always important to remember all the different students that we have, I think. And that, again, as I was mentioning before, although I think some of these careers sound pretty rudimentary, it requires a lot more expertise just because as technology's evolved, our infrastructure and our careers have evolved to be more complex, which we computers are involved a lot more in the planning and execution of a lot of these things. So it's just to kind of help your students remind them that trades are great areas to go into. They often pay really, really well at the beginning. Um, and, well, not the beginning, but at the beginning and throughout. And sometimes we don't think about that. There's a lot of work-based learning opportunities, shadowing, field trips, internships, guest speaking opportunities, things like that bring. And our trades in North Carolina are really, I think, energetic about getting in and being a part of this, building this pipeline for industry. You can helping by visiting classes, seeing what's going on there. These teachers are sometimes doing things that I don't even know exist. They're doing such great things, and sometimes we don't always share that. So getting out there and being able to visit classes and learn a little more about those can help folks educate students and maybe their viable careers for them. CTSOs, you can see my Skills USA shirt right here. We have a great career and technical student organization that really aligns with our trades and our courses through academics and skills, of course, but preparing them. So it's supporting teachers' involvement with that. There's a lot of opportunities to be involved and to help the teachers as well. Always bringing back to reminding folks to take a look at the NCCTE course management system. You can find a lot of great information about the different pathways, which I'll show you, course information, which we are rewriting to involve experiences to be a little bit better to understand for parents and students and school counselors to understand, everybody really to understand what's going on in these courses, the course standards and the pathways, and there's the URL for that. It's any area you want to look at. It really can provide a great perspective on what's going on in those different areas. So let's start with the pathways. I have 9 of them. There's a lot, so I can't spend too much time on any one of these because there's so many. You've seen these pathways, and I'll go over the first one a little bit slower because they're all very, I guess, congruent when it comes to what's going on as far as construction courses are concerned. There are middle grades exploration for T&I or TTEI. We have a lot of different things going on. I think there's about 5 or 6 courses right now. Masonry, electrical, carpentry, safety, and tools in the trade. And there's going to be, there's another one that I think we're working on as well coming up. So there's some great middle grades exploration all the way to apprenticeship and advanced studies opportunities. And you can see some of the other things that go along with these courses. For construction trades, they're going to start off with a foundational prerequisite of construction core, and then they finish off at their concentrator, which we want our students to get to, if possible, a level 2 course for masonry. And then real quick, I want to just talk about
our journey of the BSN pathway, stopping again at the accounting pathway. Before we continue,
Amy.
Yeah, I'll try and mute that person. Let's check on your phone, your audio, everyone, and mute. Thank you.
we're going to discuss this morning.
Nope. We good? All right, cool. Just to talk a minute about masonry, the masonry pathway, again, there's your concentrator up there. I wanted to show that there's an exploring course, brand new, just came out last year, and especially it's great if you have a high school program to help build the capacity in those high school programs because the middle school course has some skills base and partners with the North Carolina Masonry Association. For all these construction courses, you're going to see the proof of learning is credentials, and there are specific credentials with all 3 of those courses, starting at the foundational prerequisite all the way through that concentrator level. So I want to kind of show the pipeline. We have middle school credentials in high school, and then we have articulation agreements also at the community college. So those courses can be, of course, are part of there. If they decide to go get an associate's degree, they'll get credit for those. Just a little snippet There's a lot of different careers that relate to masonry, but just a couple of them. You know, there's a big need in this area, even though it says average growth. Just hearing from industry, it's going to be aging out, so there's a strong opportunities in those areas. So
To the accountant pathway, we will stop to gain more insight on the content covered within our courses, outlook for
Amy, can you mute these? Is that me doing that? Amy, are we
No
good?
one, yeah, everyone was muted.
Was that my slideshow? Oh, it must be my slides. Sorry about that. Oh, geez, that's mine. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hold on one second here. I apologize for that. That must be my slides because I borrowed, I think, somebody else's slideshow to start. Yep,
content covered.
that is my slides. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, that was me. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. We are all in
Give
this
me just a
together.
moment to get rid of these things. There's some way to get rid of these faster. Jeez.
Maybe if you turn off, you can't turn off the volume, can you?
No.
Thank you for
This can
waiting,
be.
everybody. I'm gonna,
Yeah, that's my fault. I apologize, folks.
no worries at all. Dr. Bryant, maybe if you are there, you can wave hello. Dr. Bryant is also in the audience. She's our school counseling consultant at the state. And I was remiss in not saying my full name is Amy Policastro Schrader, the career development consultant at the state as well. It is school counseling week, so this is a exciting and busy week for sure. And great time for us to have this lunch and learn.
Happy CTE month as well to you all.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Brian. That's right. Happy CT month and school counseling week. Focus February is busy providing promotion of what we do to support students' career development and school counselor, social emotional, and if I'm missing anything else, academic, my apologies. How we doing, Nolan?
We're good. Sorry about that, folks.
No worries. We'll continue.
All right. Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. We had such a good presentation from one of our business folks. I borrowed their structure to add my information. Let me continue here. So our masonry there is, you'll see some selected concepts of there. I just wanted everybody to see kind of some of the major skills, but it is a fast growing outlook. And I want to put some opportunities. There's a lot of things outside of just a normal mason, but there's a lot of different parts to the industry to consider as well. And I want to move forward just a little bit faster to make sure I hit all my areas here. Carpentry is pretty much the same as far as the pathway structure. There is an introductory course. You're starting with Common Core, and then we're trying to get our students to that concentrator option. Again, we have that, you can see that pipeline is exactly the same for all these for 3 of my areas. We have an exploratory course, again, that support the high school course. Similar credentials, except in the carpentry specific courses. And there's also articulation agreement in place so that students can really get more bang for their buck. In a sense, they're able to really hit some of the community college standards while they're doing high school, which is awesome. There is strong growth in this area. And the good thing is with some of the opportunities, they can get right into those careers with some of these credentials. It fuels that. There's a lot, most of these courses are going to be similar in that they're going to have construction essentials. They're going to learn the tools, equipment of those trades, learning construction drawings in those trades, and then there'll be some particular things, in this case, floor and wall systems, ceiling and joist construction. So there's similar, I guess, makeup of the pathway concepts that are congruent in these different pathways in construction. Um, there's a lot of different areas in carpentry, of course, carpenter, but there's also framers, foremen. There's a lot of ability. There's a lot of opportunities for students to move up when they enter that. You know, from an apprentice all the way, you know, through being able to own your own construction company. In fact, some of our teachers not only teach but own their own construction companies and employ some of their own students. So that's a really cool thing going on in some of our carpentry programs. Electrical trades is our third opportunity to have for a middle school course exploration, the same structure through our pathway. With their own credentials. And one thing to note about all the credentials for construction trades is that they're called tethered credentials. So each course standard aligns to one module. We use NCCER, and there is around 6 to 8 tethered credentials per course, where we call a North Carolina credential, an NCCER credential. So that's what those are alluding to. And also articulation agreement for electrical trades. Electrical trades is really cool because it's developing. Because again, our electrical infrastructure has gotten more complex and requires more expertise. So you can, of course, start off an electrician, and the starting is even higher, I think, than masonry and carpentry. But you can really do some cool things, and there's a lot of opportunities, even with like Duke Power, of course, and North Carolina, to go into a lot of different areas that require a lot of expertise. So that's and this one's very fast growing. As of course we're building more homes, you know, using the other two trades. These all need to or add to the electrical infrastructure, and they have to keep improving the electrical infrastructure. So there's a couple of different existing or opportunities as far as careers go. Electrician, we know, but there's also lineman is a huge one for North Carolina, especially because we have power outages and things like that that need taken care of because we are on the coast, but then also these different types of specialists. Solar is our new pathway. It's an extension of electrical. And I say that because it's really just an extension, because you're taking the electrical proficiencies and you're extending it into the installation of solar PV systems into houses and structures. So the same teachers can teach both, but also if students are interested in kind of that perspective of electrical trades, and electricians, that is another pathway. It's new just as of this year. And so there's a lot of opportunities, but it's kind of a newer area still across the country with alternative energies. So you get to get into course construction essentials, but site assessment, system design, installation, troubleshooting. So that can really involve a lot of expertise as well. So this is growing. You can see there's not a lot of jobs right now, but it is growing. And you can see some of the jobs that are out there, from, of course, just installation technicians to design. HVAC, I noted before. Again, this is NCCER. There's no direct exploration course, but there are some other courses of just, exploring careers that may be brought up. But I think the cool part about HVAC is more people are moving into this particular area and across the state. And the need for air conditioning is not really, we look at as a luxury anymore. It's something that everybody has, so we need more technicians out there keeping these things running. And again, it's something that requires proficiency. You can see the starting is pretty high, I think, in the HVAC areas. And this is probably something in the future that will be come across into the high school community college pathways as far as an articulation agreement, because it's such an up and coming area. You'll see again we're using there's a lot of electricity and math type of concepts involved, because there's a lot of things that go into HVAC, but you can see the different parts. If you're looking at entire air systems of houses, residential structures and commercial structures, and how to repair those, which have gotten pretty complex over the last few decades. Very fast growing. There's a lot of jobs, and it's an area that's going to continue to keep building. There's a lot of different. This can be depending on if you're going to work in residential versus, I think, commercial, can definitely change, just from being a normal technician to being responsible for entire environmental control systems for these larger structures. But there's a lot of different careers that this can lend to, not just an HVAC technician, which I think we first think of. There's a lot of congruent areas that go along with that because these systems are so complex. Plumbing is along kind of that same vein. And I'm just going to move to the kind of some of the details here. Pathway, again, is very consistent because it's still in the construction trades. It's a good starting area, another area that's very strong and growing. We have credentials for all these. But again, this is, if you look at some of the career opportunities from a general, I think, plumbing technician, which you'd think of that are going to serve like residential structures, to working on larger infrastructures like aircraft, and then hydraulics, and that's something people don't think of. In plumbing, you're learning kind of fluid dynamics and things, so that can get you into hydraulics, which gets into a lot of complex systems, fire sprinkler, and fire safety type of technicians, irrigation systems, pipe fitters. There's a lot of different areas that lend themselves to plumbing that one would, I think of right off the bat, and so that's something I wanted to bring to people's attention. Let's get into the drafting areas. So drafting, there is no foundational prerequisite like you saw with all the construction trades. Drafting 1 is the prereq, where you're to learn all the kind of the basic foundational graphics theory. And then students will have an opportunity to choose architecture like this pathway or engineering. And currently we do have Autodesk credentials that we use for drafting architecture, and we also have drafting Autodesk AutoCAD credentials and Autodesk User Revit. Revit is the up and coming. It's being pushed for a lot in industry, and it's a more complex 3D modeling system for architecture. It's a systems kind of package. So that's really a big positive, is that these students are being prepared for careers that even haven't fully taken on the new software implementation. So that's a really cool area to get into for some of these students. And what's also positive is that we also have high school articulation agreements for drafting 1 and in our architecture areas. I used to work for the university, NC State, and I did similar things with engineering technicians. We prepared engineering technicians, and you see there's a very high starting. It does require a little bit more education, but there's a huge need for the area in between before you get to kind of like a full-fledged engineer, and that's that technician area in engineering, architecture, and civil and mechanical engineering. And so there's a big need for folks that understand design thinking, and engineering design processes, and that's what both the drafting pathways can lend themselves to. Now, I know it says slow growth, but in my experience in some of the bigger areas, there's more of a push than some of the smaller areas, but there is smaller, I think, mom and pop type of not careers, but opportunities out there as well. So, so there's generally CAD designer, but then you get into more design type of technician areas as well when you get into those. The engineering is very similar, except you're moving into the engineering pathway. It's actually a STEM pathway, but the engineering, I guess, sector of drafting. And again, we have Autodesk, AutoCAD, and Inventor credentials that go along with there. And I missed one. SolidWorks is also involved for engineering. We have a great articulation agreement, and then this is this was a hard one to nail down, but some of these get pretty high salaries when they first start out, and that's really a positive thing. In North Carolina, we have so much technology. And this one's moderately growing, and then it's kind of the same thing. You have a lot of designer and technician opportunities for these students when they graduate with the proper credential opportunities afforded in these courses, but also if they move on and get an associate's. The last area I'll talk about is woodworking. This was actually cabinet making, but it was changed to woodworking because it doesn't focus just on one specific thing like furniture. There's a whole industry that needs to outfit homes with a lot of the cabinetry. But there's a lot, like you get into CNC milling, there's all kinds of different things where we're not constructing things for homes necessarily, but it's kind of the woodworking area. We have our own, there is a great credential, Woodworking Career Alliance. So what's good about TNI is on all our areas, we have a lot of credential earning opportunities that are in line with industry and support industry. For our first course, we do still, this is my only course that is still has a CT post-assessment, but it does align with an OSHA 10 construction. So that's a really great credential for students to get baseline. So if they get a job, they can show that they, you know, have the basic elements of understanding when it comes to safety, and that shows direct employment or employability right away. It's something that all students in any area that's going to be require safety, that's important for them to have something like that as a baseline, I think. So that's good, and my construction courses also offer that. And then in the second level course, we have something called the Woodwork Career Alliance Saw Blade Certificate, and that's basically a credential that shows they know how to use all the woodworking equipment properly and safely. And we do have an articulation agreement for our woodworking courses. If you take both of those, you'll get credit again at the community college. Now, this area, I will say, right now it's not a huge it's not huge as far as growth is concerned. But there are sectors I can tell you within North Carolina. We know that we used to be a really huge furniture uh, design and production area. North Carolina used to produce a lot of the world's furniture. So and a lot of it I know has moved, but we still have different sectors throughout North Carolina that still excel in this. So maybe as a state we're slow growing, but there are particular areas that are growing. And it's coming back. You know, we're bringing some of these jobs back to North Carolina and furniture production and cabinet making and things like that. And so there's a lot of different careers, you know, from basic cabinet and furniture builders to operating, you know, these complex CNC machines because we use a lot of complex and advanced manufacturing processes these days, and even, you know, setting these machines up so they're going to work properly. So that is my pathways, and I apologize for moving very quickly through that. There's a lot of opportunities for students. Most of them, except one course, are all in credential based. So these students are getting valuable credentials that are in line with industry. And there's also a great Career and Technical Student Association line, and I just want to throw this up there. The mission statement. It's kind of almost like a word map or whatever you want to call it. But just to see some of those highlighting words that pop out at you, what this organization does and how they prepare students. You know, they're preparing to be leaders, responsibility you see there. I like to put in there, you see skilled workforce and technical skills, highly skilled workforce, but also it's grounded in academics, which is important. And at the end there in the green, you see it, and all these different things prepare our students to get opportunity, to have more opportunities for career success, which is what our job is in career and technical education. So if maybe teachers brand new, it's hard, I know, to get these programs running at the very, very beginning, but it's something that our teachers look at as a duty to provide these experiences, if at all possible, to extend their learning beyond the classroom into an understanding of the workplace and workplace skills. I did want to show that we have tons of events, and you can see most of them are coming up here. We had these regional rallies for Skills USA. And I'll be at a few of these here to show our support, of course, but just opportunities for students to compete in the trade and realistic experiences that mimic industry or actually directly work in industry. We have a state conference coming up April 18th to 20th, and there's a national conference. So if you have specific questions, I have a lot of course, knowledge in this area, but it's hard to get everything out, of course, just in one session as well. And if you think of questions afterwards or things that you'd like to know more about to bring that knowledge to your students, feel free to reach out, and you can scan the QR code and, of course, go to this link here and add those questions, and we'll get back to you. And my information is in the last slide, I think, in the first slide as well. Please reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions as well. We want our students to have these opportunities. Of course, there's so many great opportunities out there, but if you have questions, particularly about in the T&I areas and construction, woodworking, and drafting, please reach out to me. And here is your attendance checkout. Amy, is there anything else I need to cover?
No, that's been wonderful, Dr. Farr. There's quite a bit going on in TTEI and OBT&I, as you mentioned earlier in the onset of the session. 10 pathways that you've gone over. Wonderful courses, programs, credentials for our students. I'm going to put your email in the chat for everybody. The Q&A QR code and that extra link that I put in the chat, as Dr. Farr mentioned, is for any future questions that you might have. And his email is there in the chat as well. But some folks are watching this or will be watching this in the future as a recording. So the QR code is easy to view and send in any questions where we're checking. See what questions come out throughout the. You are welcome to put any questions or comments now in the chat related to this presentation and the curriculum. We do have some more time if needed.
And
I
sorry
do
about the
appreciate.
technical issues there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about the technical issues there.
No worries at all. I do appreciate, Nolan, that you listed all of the careers, or you showed some careers that were applicable for the pathways.
And I aligned all this a lot of my information I pulled as you heard Elizabeth Matthews. She did just a great job connecting to our new NC Careers site that was kind of redone last year, I think it was. And I did the same thing because I thought it was such a great idea. So that it's, none of the information I'm putting up there, I'm pulling out of the hat or some buried data. It's nccareers.com. You can find all this. It's a great resource for anybody that wants to learn a little bit about what's going on in industry and what we can, and then information to provide to students. It's a great resource.
Yes, and you put the URL, I think you referenced it under each of those job descriptions or job information. I put it in the chat, nccareers.org, free resource site for North Carolinians public for citizens K to Gray. Wonderful labor market information and career assessments for you to research, and great way to connect related to the TE&I programs that are listed. There is a section on that site related to CTE specifically, and the school counselors of North Carolina and the career development coordinators of North Carolina. It's wonderful, robust. All ties in together. Make sure I didn't miss anything that came across in the chat. Nothing that I'm seeing. What I will do as a final item is, if you're interested in registering and attending a future Lunch and Learn session, here is registration information and a link to the resource site that shows all the future Lunch and Learns. Danielle Rivenbark is the contact. I'm getting some private messages that say thank you very much. I don't know if you're getting any either, Nolan. Sometimes people just send private. Everyone doesn't always see it, but much appreciation for your time and effort today. All the curriculum programs that you support.
Would you put the attendance back up there one more time?
I can put the attendance checkout up there. Let me do that. The checkout. Thank you.
And I can put it up there one more time if you need it.
Checkout link is also in the chat there. All right, I'm going to stop recording. Thank you so much for coming today, for taking the time. We know that You are extremely busy and your time is valuable. Students in the school. Hopefully today's information will help with the work that you do. Thank you for everything.
And thank you for everybody, what you do. We appreciate, well, everybody's here as a team, right? Helping our students. But uh, I think sometimes specific people in some of your roles, CDC, school counselors, folks like that, you're having a direct connection with the teachers, but also the students, to help everybody kind of be educated and do their jobs better. So we appreciate that.